Okay, let's look at number 3. So number 3 has piecewise functions. You do need to be able to integrate these, okay? The first thing, the biggest thing about these is interpreting what it means. So it's asking us to integrate from 0 to 5 of a function where the function is a piecewise function, okay? So this says when x is smaller than 2, our equation is x cubed. When x is larger than 2, our equation is 4x. Now, properties of integrals allow us to split up this integral. So even though 2 is in the middle of 0 to 5, we can still write this integral and figure out what the area is. We're going to have to split it up at 2 because that's where this graph changes what equation it's related to. So in order to write the integral from 0 to 5, we're going to have to write an integral from 0 to 2 and add an integral from 2 to 5. And that will give us the total from 0 to 5. Now before 2, our equation is x cubed. So we write x cubed dx, and that is how we write that integral. The second one, once we pass 2 and larger, our equation is 4x dx. And then we have to evaluate. So the biggest hurdle here is writing these integrals. And now we can integrate. We can evaluate a definite integral. We can do that. Okay. So what we can do, if we are looking 0 to 2, x cubed dx, we have x to the 4th over 4 from 0 to 2. Plus this integral, we have 4x squared over 2. This one is 2 to 5. So it's just like two separate problems. We're going to evaluate this one, and then we can add them together. Okay? So when we evaluate this one, we're doing f of b, so we plug in 2. So we have 2 to the 4th over 4 minus 0 to the 4th over 4 plus plugging in 5 squared over 2 minus 4 times 2 squared over 2. Now, if you really have a deep down desire to do all this in math and get an answer, that's fine. But on the quiz, this will be sufficient. This will be a fine answer. Okay? So leave here, you'll get full credit. If you really want to know what the answer is, you should get 46. Okay, so now let's look at the second part of 3. Another piecewise function, more practice with this. Okay, this time we are looking from 0 to 9, and we have 3 parts. That means we're going to have 3 separate integrals. Okay, so we know from 0 to 2, so one of our integrals is going to be 0 to 2, because we need to start at 0 and go to 9. That's the biggest thing here. Then we're going to have an integral from 2 to 5. Pick up at 2 where we left off, go to 5, and then our equation changes again, 5 to 9. So we will have a third. Pick up at 5 where we left off to 9, and that will give us the whole integral from 0 to 9, which is what we wanted in the first place. Now each of these from 0 to 2, our equation is x squared. From 2 to 5, our equation is 4. And from 5 to 9, our equation is 9 minus x. And each of these must have a dx after it for proper notation. And that is the biggest thing about this quiz. I want to see your notation. Okay? Once you get that far, you can integrate and add them all up. So we are going to have x cubed over 3 from 0 to 2 plus 4x from 2 to 5 plus 9x minus x squared over 2 from 5 to 9. Now, if you really desire and you really want to figure out what that answer is, then you can. You do not need to, but you do need to plug these numbers in. You do need to show your knowledge of the fundamental theorem of calculus, which is f of b minus f of a. So we have b and a here. So we're going to plug in 2 cubed over 3 minus 0 cubed over 3. There's our first integral. Plus, we'll plug in 4 times 5 minus 4 times 2 plus, okay, we have a little bit more here. So we have 9 times 9 minus 9 squared over 2. That's just f of b. So be careful here. They do get a little bit longer. Minus f of a, we need to make sure this one is in parentheses because we have more than one part. So we plug in 5. We have 9 times 5. Okay, minus 5 squared over 2. Close both of those parentheses. So we have 3 groups. This will be 0. You don't really need to go through and simplify this. Remember, this is all numbers. Okay, so technically this is a numerical answer and you can leave as is. Now, if you really want to go through, get common denominators, combine everything, when I did that, I got 211 over 6 as my final answer. Okay. But the big thing is writing these, being able to do this notation. Okay, so looking at this piecewise function and being able to break it up into 3 parts because there are 3 parts here. Okay, breaking it up where they say to break it up. Right, that's how we picked those numbers. We wrote that integral and that's how we get our answer.